Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Alan with another broadcast of the Morlog Morning Digest. And as always, I ask that you guys please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Most importantly, please share the content. Now, in the description below, you're going to find a few links. One of them is for my PayPal. The other one's a Bitcoin wallet. Those two are for donations if you're so inclined. No obligation at all, but I definitely appreciate it. The third link is going to be for my BitChute, which is a backup channel in case they decide to prevent me from talking on YouTube. Now, with all of that being said, I want to put out a very special thank you to a new subscriber from Florida. Her name is Anita, and if it wasn't for people like you, I honestly don't know if I'd still be doing this work on YouTube. It lets me know that my voice is being heard, and I appreciate it more than words could express. Now, with all of that being said, I'm in a very good mood this morning. You're going to be asking me, well, why are you in such a good mood? It's not very like you. Well, that's true. I will say I do come off as, nihilistic sometimes. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm happy, but it's because my ego is just a little bit inflated this morning. It's not for necessarily good reasons either, but Donald Trump came out yesterday, and I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. It's kind of my thing. It's what I do. But he confirmed that he has firsthand knowledge that this virus, the CCP virus, the Wuhan virus, the China virus, whatever you want to call it besides COVID-19, was started inside of this Wuhan biology lab. There is no way around it. The President of the United States came out and said this on national TV. I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. Now, do I think we're ever going to get information on how this actually happened? Fuck no. It ain't going to happen, and I'm going to tell you why. Because it would start World War III. There's some information that can't be talked about. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the political coverage that I've done has been biased. And I'm not saying this because I support Donald Trump right now. I want to say it because I acknowledge that, yes, it's an issue when it comes to me covering these political events. So I need to take a step away from that in order to be fair for you guys, right? But I don't care who the president is, right? If you find out that somebody inside of your government funded this lab in Wuhan after the research that they funded in Wuhan was made illegal inside of the United States. We transfer all of that information to China and pay them to continue research that is illegal inside of the United States, right? And then we find out that we are ultimately responsible for funding a communist totalitarian regime that murders and enslaves their people for organ harvesting. We funded a lab that is responsible for a pandemic that has reached the entire world corner to corner. What would happen? What would happen if the entire country found out that Dr. Anthony Fauci and Dr. Burke, the people that they have entrusted their lives with for the last 60 plus days, were responsible for the research and funding of a virus that's research was illegal in the United States? It would create anarchy. Not to mention, I have a feeling the information would prove that this virus was not being worked on for posterity. Now, the story that they are going to try to spin in the media as this thing progresses forward is that that lab was working on a vaccine for the coronavirus. Now, all indicators from what I have seen says that that is bullshit. Let me give you a little bit of a history lesson here. There has never been, I repeat, never been a vaccine developed for a coronavirus that affects the human body. Interestingly enough, there has been canine vaccines, but again, there's never been a vaccine for coronaviruses in humans. And on top of that, there has never been any scientific research that proves vaccines are effective in the least. Absolutely none. Now, it's all of that is very important to understand because it proves undoubtedly that this is a bioweapons research facility, and that is exactly why we were funding this facility, because we had an interest in this just as much as the Chinese did. This is a bioweapon. But what else does this prove? Let's take Dr. Birx and Dr. Anthony Fauci's ties back to HIV into the equation here, because yes, it ties directly into the coronavirus research. There is a Nobel laureate prize winning doctor who has come out and said that this virus that is going around right now called COVID-19 has parts of it that are genetically identical to that of HIV, therefore pointing to the fact that this could not have occurred naturally. Nobel Prize laureate winning doctor. Okay, but Dr. Birx and Dr. Anthony Fauci were responsible for spearheading the research into HIV long before HIV ever became a pandemic inside of the United States. And if you look into it, you'll find out that Dr. Anthony Fauci and Birx were responsible for the response of that virus inside of the United States. They led the task force that fought against that virus and ultimately led to all of these treatments and all of these new drugs that made Big Pharma tons and tons and tons and tons of money with no efficacy of these drugs being done at all. So Dr. Anthony Fauci is responsible for that along with Dr. Birx. And then that research that they were responsible for with HIV pops up 40 some years later in a new virus that was illegal to be studied and worked on in the United States, which was then transferred and funded in China. And Dr. Anthony Fauci and Dr. Birx are directly tied to it. Right? This is the real story. That's what is going on behind the scenes. And the mainstream media is going to try to tell you that this lab was working on a vaccine for this virus and there was a protocol breach. Well, I wonder why there was a protocol breach. Maybe because you designed there to be one. You designed flaws inside of that system on purpose. How do I know this? Well, because a doctor in Canada that worked in that lab, who was responsible for training all of the people and technicians inside of that lab, just so happened to get fired from a lab inside of Canada for protocol breaches. What does that mean? That means when this doctor went to China and trained every single lab technician inside of that facility, being funded and paid for by the United States government to do research, which once again is illegal to be done inside the United States, just so happened to go over there and teach them the same protocol that she got fired for in Canada. And you wonder why there was a leak of this virus. Was the leak intentional? I wonder, Batman, riddle me that. I'm just putting the pieces together and I'm offering you a logical conclusion to the mystery at hand. And I hate to tell you, but I was right. So who are you going to trust? The mainstream media? Or are you going to actually sit there and listen to what I have to say? Don't trust a fucking word I'm telling you. Go do the goddamn research yourself and you're going to come to the same conclusion that I have. Because you're smart and you know how to use logic. I cannot see the future, people. I can simply read the events that are going on in front of us and put the pieces of the puzzle together. You guys are 100% capable of doing what I do on a daily basis, man. problem is, right, is it takes a lot of time, it takes investment, and it takes energy that would probably be better spent somewhere else, right? But I think my track record is good enough for you guys to at least listen to what I have to say when it comes to this. You guys have way more than you know. The pieces of the puzzle are being put together. Open your eyes. The information's there. God bless. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves. Reflect on this information. And remember, you heard it first at Morlog Morning Digest.